Scorpio, welcome to your February 2017 love reading. Wow, all these swords. Okay. Oh. There may be a choice that some of you have been kind of maybe agonizing over. So I'm thinking that there might be 3 people involved. For some of you, this person might actually be an Aquarius, because this is the card that is crossing you. And this is connected to Aquarius, and we have all these swords cards. For some of you, I know this is going to be, tell me if if this scenario is true for any of you, where it's a Cancer person versus an Aquarius. Okay. Cancer is another water sign. And it's featured right here as the advice of the direction to go in. But let's talk about the recent past. We have the Ace of Swords. So there's some new beginning, and it could be a beginning with somebody who is a sword sign. So maybe that was you meeting somebody who is either a Gemini, a Libra, or an Aquarian. And there's that sense of it being, so it would be something relatively new then. And that led you to feel that you don't know what to do about the situation. But you see that the person is blindfolded. So you may be kind of not really seeing things as they are for whatever reason. Maybe you don't want to deal with the inconvenient truth behind some of this. I don't think it's any coincidence that there's a moon up there, because the moon can indicate deception. In a case where there is an Aquarius person involved, it could be that they are not, maybe they are not telling you the whole truth of their situation. Maybe it's a sin of omission. Maybe it's not that they have lied, but they just haven't disclosed certain facts that are true about their life. And so Scorpio, being some of you are naturally suspicious, but also you are naturally intuitive. So sometimes all of us have experiences where we know that there's something going on, but we don't know exactly what it is. And it can drive you crazy, right? So this may be one of those situations where you're like, you can't put your finger on it, but you know that something is just not adding up. And you're kind of like, okay, what do I do about this? You may feel like your hands are tied. And sure enough, this is another card that represents anxiety. And it's funny that this, in the Morgan Greer deck, they have it like the person's hands are tied. It's kind of like what the Eight of Swords is in the Rider-Waite deck. The Morgan Greer deck, kind of shows the same thing. But, I guess anxiety can be that way as well, where we feel like, we have nowhere to go. And in some cases, this is because there can be different reasons. One, it's like if you're in a relationship with somebody and it's unsatisfying, and yet you have an affair, and it's impossible because the other person's married or they're not reliable. They're just, in your heart of hearts, that's just a physical thing. Maybe it's more on your part, but that on their part, it's just for fun. Whatever the scenario is, it may be that both situations are not happening. And so you feel this sense of like, okay, where do I go from here? And sometimes it means that both things have to end. Maybe your affair has to end, maybe your marriage has to end, or your long-term relationship. I mean, it's obviously it's going to depend on other factors. But sometimes that's where this feeling of, anxiety is coming from, because you're trying to escape something that's currently unsatisfying, but you're replacing it with something that's equally not going to, matter. Ultimately, it's not worth a hill of beans, because it's just a fling, and you may even know, Scorpio people, one thing I like about Scorpios is that they usually are not delusional. They tend to be very like, it is what it is, and they don't, I don't think that many of them try to hide behind fantasy in order to cope with their life, but it could be simply wanting that connection with somebody. If you're with somebody that, you don't feel that you have a strong emotional connection, sometimes, you're willing to, gravitate towards a situation where there is more of that kind of a feeling. Now, the higher message is the Five of Swords. So this is the card. You can see people in the background. The number 5 is an unstable number. So in terms of this person, if this person is an air sign, and by the way, to me, I associate this with Gemini. Particularly, I did mention Aquarius could be that that air sign. Perhaps it's somebody who has both of these signs in their personal planets that is affecting their personality, because whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It doesn't even have to be the sun in an air sign. It could be just that they have a lot of this, where they tend to be very analytical and detached. And it's also saying that this is kind of like an underhanded situation. Maybe the person is underhanded. The Five of Swords can indicate slander. And so by extension, I include any kind of dishonest speech where somebody is, maybe they are manipulating through their words. They're distorting what the truth is for their own gain. That could be part of what is happening. And whatever it is, the Five of Swords also represents a victory that is empty. And I see this a lot with, situations where there's extramarital, or, where there's more than two people involved, where it becomes an ego thing of like, I got this person from the other person. Like, I triumphed. Let's say you're the other woman or other man. I was able to, they picked me over that other person. And, that way of thinking is really, that doesn't lead you on the right course, because that's what they say, an ill-gotten gain. It's coming from a negative situation to begin with. And sometimes, to tell you the truth, a lot of that mentality, when you feel this sense of competition, and, the strangest thing is when you're not even the spouse, when you're the outsider, and you feel like I stole this person away from their spouse, so I must be better than this other person. There's a really a sense of like competition with another person, and women especially tend to get involved in these because women are taught to compete for men. So that kind of thing is really like dysfunctional behavior, because it's not rooted in anything ethical but just in terms of love, it's really about the ego feeling like they got one over on somebody else. And so that's what that card is kind of also representing, that there may be sometimes people, they love the power trip of being able to seduce somebody into doing something, but they don't really care about that person per se. They just are into that. It's like the seductress, or the male version of it. I can't think of that term for the womanizer. The womanizer, it's really about him. It's not about the woman. Like, he really doesn't care, because he's going to move on to the next woman. Once he, it's like a game to him, where he can just like see how many women will fall for him, but he's not really in love with any of them. And that's how he's able to move on to the next one. Well, the same thing with the woman who's like trying to, and usually these women, they're not interested in single men. They're interested in men that are taken, because that's part of the challenge. And because they really don't want intimacy either. So it's all of those things, or it could be, something going on along those lines. The thing also about the Star card is not really tuning into the higher wisdom of that, not believing that there is, like not believing that there's guidance available for you, that not having hope in better days ahead, in terms of having love in your life. And so sometimes that kind of lack of hope leads people into inferior types of relationships. The advice is the Chariot, and this is what I was talking about with Cancer. It could be, there may be somebody who is a Cancer, who has that prominent, that nurturing quality, the water element, the dreamy quality, and they are, wanting to, get to know you better. Or maybe they have been in your life in the past, and maybe that's the other person involved. And maybe they're so predictable, and I don't want to say predictable, they're so reliable that you kind of take them for granted. Maybe it's not as exciting as this other person, because this other person may not be very stable. The number 5 is an unstable number, so there's a lot of, could be that the person comes in and out of your life, but you mistake that for them being intriguing, because of that sense of like you can't hold on to them. They're always like right beyond your reach. They're elusive. And so, you try to chase after that person, or to, keep tabs on them, and you can't do that. And that is kind of like exciting. And this other person is like a comfortable easy chair, and you know that they're always going to be there. And those are the kind of people that oftentimes the good people often get taken for granted, because they may be viewed as, not enough of a challenge for people who really have issues with intimacy, who don't want to get close to somebody, and they don't realize it. It's kind of like on the unconscious level. The outcome is that card I always pick, and it's the 6 of Cups. And so it could be like, this is like the soulmate card. The card of a soul connection. It's interesting, the contrast between this card and all these Swords cards, which are more the mental thing, more the communication of the mental. So this could be about you having a connection with somebody on a more spiritual level, and that being something that feels much more, how can I put it, profound than what you've been currently experiencing. Maybe you've been experiencing way too much words, way too many words and not enough. Sometimes the deepest connections, people are not even talking. They're just being in another's presence. And they feel that sense of nourishment on the deepest of levels. And that's something that I think a lot of Scorpio people are looking for. They just don't know it sometimes. Sometimes they get dazzled by the externals of somebody, and they forget that that isn't the end-all be-all. So it ends in a very nice way, a very romantic way, a very idealistic way. So I hope you enjoyed this, Scorpio. If you'd like a private reading, please click on the link below. Otherwise, have a great February. Bye.